Greetings all! Today, we'll be examining the uncommon fire-type Pokemon Slugma and its relatively rare Fire-Rock-type evolution Magcargo, the two collectively known as the Lava Pokémon. Though strange in form and composition, the members of the Slugma family are fiery creatures that can readily burn down anything and everything that they do not approve of.
Slugma have somewhat amorphous bodies made of lava, with a vague slug-shaped form to them. The only discernible part of their form that is notable is their head, which has a small mouth, a pair of horn-like outgrowths of lava on the back of said head, and a large pair of pinprick black eyes with yellow sclera. Their evolved form, Magcargo, lose their horns in evolution, as large bubbles of lava seem to drip from the sides of their face constantly, and have a more rounded snout to them. Their backs are covered by a large snail-like shell of cooled lava that acts as a protective cover for their viscous, vulnerable bodies.
Slugma and Magcargo are extremely bizarre organisms whose very identity and existence has been the source of scientific inquiry for decades, and as it turns out, the real Slugma and Magcargo are nothing that the human eye could ever normally detect.
99.99% of the bodies of these creatures are comprised of rhyolitic lava that is kept constantly warm by moving around and staying out of relatively cool areas. The creatures responsible for providing locomotion to this lava, the true Slugma and Magcargo, are thermophilic bacteria that have the amazing capacity to possess and retain sentience as a single organism, despite the fact that millions, if not billions of them, might exist within a single unit. Even if separated great distances, these bacteria are able to retain memories by storing data as electrical impulses within their cell membranes. When they approach another of their kind, these bacteria release the electrical impulses and establish a connection between themselves, creating a linked consciousness in the process. The fact that these organisms choose to live within lava only makes this feat even more impressive, as no other known organism is known to be able to exist within such extreme temperatures.
This can, however, pose its own unique problems, as these creatures are unable to easily register pain and are unable to utilize their natural fire-type powers very well at first, so their overall performance in battle is fairly low initially and difficult for most trainers to work with.
Moreover, Slugma and Magcargo represent perhaps one of the strangest cases of natural evolution in the Pokemon world, because no actual evolution takes place at all. The two are truly nothing more than two separate life stages within the same general species. The bacteria that actually form the consciousness of Slugma usually spend the days in blissful peace for most of their life, but eventually they reach a point where their colony is too large and expansion of sorts is required. When this point is reached, Slugma physically force their bodies to rest in place for a short period of time and rearrange their internal composition just slightly in order to provide greater accommodation space for the growing colony. In doing so, however, Slugma allow the topmost part of the bodies to grow and harden, forming a dense but brittle shell of hardened material that squishes their body down and malforms the head, effectively turning them into Magcargo. In reality, these creatures are still Slugma. However, this radical change helps to not only allow the colony to slightly increase its overall control over the lava body it is situated in, and in turn their combat prowess, but results in a massive boost within their body's base defense stat and grants them the same properties of a rock-type Pokemon, hence the definition as Magcargo and not Slugma. This technical definition has been debated for many decades and fought over on numerous occasions, but considering how much of a difference occurs between these two life stages, it is unlikely that the definition of Magcargo as an evolved form will ever be broken under conventional standards.
Regardless, their fiery forms make any attempt to come into contact with them or freeze them a fool's errand, as they have access to Flame Body and Magma Armor as base abilities, and those they are able to break down and reform their bodies to increase their overall mobility can also have Weak Armor as a hidden ability.
As far as the stats are concerned in the case of Magcargo, it is clear that these beasts are not really built for intense combat, as they are rather weak and underperform in most areas. They can at least hit decently hard with special offenses and have strong physical defenses thanks to their shell though, so the base special attack stat is above average for a fully evolved rock-type Pokemon, and the base defense stat is above average for a fully evolved fire and rock-type Pokemon, at least lending them something to work with in a close quarters fight.
In comparison to many other fire-type Pokemon, Slugma can be a bit of a challenge to work with, as their bodies are highly susceptible to cold temperatures.
Under normal circumstances, Slugma have to continue moving at all times in order to prevent their bodies from freezing solid at even room temperature. Otherwise, the lava that circulates through their bodies like blood will quickly cool and solidify, eventually turning their entire bodies into a dry husk that is so brittle to the touch that the slightest knock can break pieces of their body off. This also means that Slugma almost never sleep or rest their bodies, and anytime they do, they make sure to do so right next to lava so they can maintain a reasonable body temperature. Oddly enough though, the fact that Slugma sleep at all makes no sense, as a little more than a massive colony of mobile bacteria. It is possible, however, that the sudden presence of sentience within such a colony might be responsible for them acting in ways that are otherwise impossible for anything without a developed brain to act, or otherwise are just imitating organisms to blend in for protection, likely explaining why these otherwise mindless creatures actually exhibit personalities and even emotions. Regardless of this curiosity, Slugma are generally very hard to care for and take a bit longer than most other fire-type Pokemon to reach maturity, and even then, their overall combat skills are moderate at best. Still, these creatures have natural access to an astonishingly wide variety of attacks that few other fire types can match, so their capacity for damage in battle is still notable by any standard. Although the physical defenses are helped tremendously by the addition of a dense shell, the outer portions of a Magcargo shell are actually quite brittle and can easily be broken off simply by touching it. As such, Magcargo must constantly dip their bodies into pools of lava in order to replenish any part of the shell that is lost. On the bright side though, this allows Magcargo to learn the bizarre but powerful shell smash technique immediately after evolving, making them a fairly decent threat in any battle. Moreover, the lava bodies that the bacteria exist within have increased substantially in temperature as a result of this change, and can reach temperatures of about 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit easily, in turn incinerating any organic form that dares to come into direct contact with them, and oftentimes charring anything that gets even relatively close to their bodies without protection. As a result of this high body temperature, Magcargo can effectively rest and keep their body temperatures high enough to prevent hardening fairly easily, and can even wander around in the middle of rainstorms without much worry. Such a feat is relatively dangerous to other life forms, however, as anything but a direct blast of water to their bodies will simply be vaporized upon contact, in turn meaning that these creatures will generate a thick veil of mist around their bodies when in the middle of a rainstorm. This can be a powerful defensive tactic against opponents that like to rely on the rain dance technique to increase the strength of their water-type moves, and can thus allow Magcargo to survive for somewhat decent periods of time before succumbing to their quadruple weakness to water-type attacks.
I've heard the phrase too hot to handle before, but these creatures are utterly ridiculous! Joking aside, this is definitely one family we are going to want to avoid close contact if you can in any way. These fiery creatures have a special power to them for having bodies that are literally made of lava, and while the actual ability of them to do so is a bit confounding even to people like Hubby, there is no doubt that it makes them really stand out from other fire-type Pokemon, even if they aren't exactly the best of fighters as a whole. They do at least get access to a lot of different powerful attacks they develop, and even moves like Recover and Shell Smash that can help elevate their combat prowess into something to be concerned about, provided they can last long enough to make use of said moves, as the resistance to special offenses isn't quite as great as their resistance to physical attacks. Regardless, these thermophilic beasts can prove to be a handful if they can't be taken out readily, and while their quadruple weakness to the likes of the water and ground types can make them somewhat vulnerable, they can still make the best of any situation and really heat things up in the midst of battle. Literally. So their slow and cumbersome looking forms should not be dismissed entirely when such advantages are not accessible in a fight.
While they might not exactly be the best for battling if the biggest vulnerabilities are targeted, the members of the Slugma family are still potent beasts that can make do with what they have in order to make an impact in combat. You might have to raise them from quite some time in order to get the best moves at their disposal, but the right setup with said moves can make these creatures a hassle to deal with and worth the effort if they can fill a perfect niche in someone's team.
Just do yourself a favor and try not to put their extreme body temperatures to awkward use. They might be hot enough to charge just about anything once fully evolved, but using them to grill a barbecue meal without their permission may result in more than just a slight kerfuffle when they decide to retaliate and make sure you and your meal are left as well done.
Thank you for watching this video. It brings me great joy to be able to speak to you all in the world each and every time we meet like this, to explore the many different facets of both the world of Pokemon as we know it, and the world as we live it, through every adventure we have with Pokemon by our side. If you'd like to, please subscribe, ring the bell and all that jazz, to keep yourself updated on content uploads and other materials of the like. You can also follow me on Twitter if you'd like to know right away when something new is uploaded, and my written works, from which most of this is based on, can be found on DeviantArt. Links to both can be found in the description down below. Remember that the world of Pokemon is a place full of wonder and mystery, and you never know what to expect. So, stay vigilant, keep watch, and always be prepared for the unexpected. Until next time, trainers and friends of all sorts, have a wonderful time.